Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Uncovering the Hidden Agendas, a video series dedicated to showing you all how Satan has put his hand of influence on just about every aspect of society. So today we continue our discussion of video games. Just like we did with music, today we're going to look at specific examples of how video games are promoting these satanic themes, satanic symbols, evil ideas and belief systems. Alright, we're going to look at all that today. So to start out, let's look at a game called WarioWare for the Nintendo DS. Within this game, certain characters have songs, right? Like theme songs, I guess. But for one of the specific characters, it was revealed that when you fast forwarded the song really quickly, there was a hidden message. Let's see it. So this is Ashley's theme. Did y'all hear that? Let's do it again. I have granted kids to hell. Just by playing a video game? Guys, this is serious stuff. My goodness. So this is similar to what we saw in the music episodes. Something called backmasking. So I guess this is like forward masking. Alright, moving on. Alright, moving on to a more recent game. Fortnite. Let's see some things that are included in this game.
If you look around Fortnite, you're going to find triangles quickly. Triangles with dots in the middle. Here you obviously have a building with cactuses all around it, and it's representing, obviously, the all-seeing eye. The eye is everywhere in Fortnite, and all sorts of different kind of symbolism too. I mean, an X and a 2 on this grave, all sorts of other things across the map. What does it mean and why is it here? It's just so strange. It started when I saw this rock. I saw a swirl with a dot in the middle, and I was like, that's so strange. But then I started to notice even more that the rock is in the shape of a triangle. It has 3 points, and it's obviously pointing to the same thing. But this isn't where it started. I mean, it started here with this t-shirt. That was a t-shirt from the original Fortnite testing, beta testing, taken from Reddit. And you also find it on this dollar, the same symbol. A triangle with the eye at the top, or an eye in the middle, symbolizing power or something's watching you. It's always everywhere. And it just keeps popping up all over Fortnite. I said keeps weird, but we're just going to use this anyway. It's even on the battle bus. Hiding right in plain sight on the stop sign. I mean, I'm sure there's countless examples throughout all of Fortnite and many, many video games of the Illuminati.
Alright. So all-seeing eye planted all over this game. Alright, let me skip ahead a little bit.
You're going to find a painting behind the wall, and it's a window in the basement. So obviously they want you to see through this window and chop the wall. So I chopped the wall, and I saw this painting behind it. There's actually also a second painting that I'll show you after this. But the reason I don't really like talking about this is because this is a painting depicting a story from the Bible. And if you turn it on its side here, you're going to see the earth. You're going to see a rising gold tower with fire on it. And you're going to see a moon. And just depicting this rising tower from the earth. And the question is why is the Tower of Babel which was a tower that was trying to rise high above the earth, an ancient building. It's obvious that you can see this is an ancient Mayan ziggurat or some sort of representation like that. But why is this picture in the basement of Fortnite? Why is it hiding behind a wall, and why do they seemingly want people to discover it? And if you look up this story, the story is about mankind overtaking God. It's about them trying to build a tower to heaven and to overthrow God, to take him over, to take him down, and to become like God themselves. And it's essentially a Satanistic story, because the story is about the people being led by Satan, being led by evil to overthrow God. And what happens in the biblical story is that the people become so evil, so wicked in their minds, that God says, I need to destroy them, I need to destroy the earth, and I need to start over. They're always murdering each other, they're always like having relations with little children, and doing all sorts of terrible things.
Well said, sir. So, one, this painting is in the basement, so you have to look for it a little bit. They're not going to make these things obvious. And two, you have to turn it on its side. I sure wouldn't have noticed that at first glance. Alright, next example. Let's go back to Mario. This was a game I used to play a lot, Mario Party 7. And one of the scenes that you can play on is called Windmillville. Stop. Look at those hills back there. They have eyes on them. Why is that? Made me think of a concept that is still, for some reason, very popular. Spontaneous generation. The supposed production of living organisms from non-living matter. Why are they promoting this symbolism, this idea, in a video game? Are they forcing us to be, evolutionists or Satanists? Alright, so not just this idea of spontaneous generation, but also the movie, The Hills Have Eyes, an R-rated horror film being promoted in a kid's video game. Alright? Show you one other thing. Alright, that character on the right here. His name is Dry Bones. Let's take a look at Dry Bones. Dry Bones is a dead stop. He's dead? So why is he in the game? Dry Bones is a dead Koopa Troopa that has withered into bones. They attack by throwing bones at Mario or his partner. They can also rebuild more Dry Bones if one has been defeated or if they're alone. Because of how dried out their bones are, they take heavy damage when attacked with a bomb or fire attack. In Paper Mario, one fire flower will instantly kill all Dry Bones in the area. But I thought he was already dead. Let me keep going. These enemies can also get back up even after they're dead. So we're playing with ideas of afterlife, reincarnation, stuff that kids do not need to be believing, or anyone for that matter. The only way to permanently kill them is to use a fire attack or bomb attack. And just to read one more. Paper Mario, one of the first uses of this character. Dry Bones appear in Bowser's Castle during Chapter 8. They attack by throwing bones and are able to create more Dry Bones during battle. Here we go again. Reproduction of someone that's dead? Come on now. Once they are defeated, they will come back to life unless a fire or explosive attack is used against them. So again, reincarnation, ever since the beginnings of this character. So Dry Bones, does that sound familiar? If you think about Ezekiel, there's a story that talks about Dry Bones. Ezekiel's vision of the Valley of Dry Bones came to him after God had directed him to prophesy the rebirth of Israel in chapter 36. God announced through the prophet that Israel will be restored to her land in blessing under the leadership of David, my servant, who shall be king over them. Clearly a reference to the future under Jesus Christ, the Messiah, descendant of David. However, this promise seemed impossible in light of Israel's present condition. She was dead as a nation, deprived of her land, her king, and her temple. She had been divided and dispersed for so long that unification and restoration seemed impossible. So God gave Ezekiel the vision of the dry bones as a sign. God transported Ezekiel, probably not literally, but in a vision, to a valley full of dry bones and directed him to speak to the bones. Ezekiel was to tell the bones that God would make breath enter the bones and they would come to life, just as in the creation of man when he breathed life into Adam. Ezekiel obeyed, the bones came together, flesh developed, skin covered the flesh, breath entered the bodies, and they stood up in a vast army. Stop. So, we're seeing similar to this dry bones character, right? Alright, bones coming back to life, or the dead being revived. But there's one catch, alright? One big difference. God gave the bones breath, not a video game developer. There's no way they were quoting this story with this character. Not just, playing with afterlife, reincarnation, but also misuse of Bible scriptures. Alright, moving on. Alright, let's look at Mario a little more. Go to a game back in the day, Super Mario 64.
The Nintendo 64 game, Super Mario 64, is loaded with occult symbolism. The castle's checkered floor pattern, pyramids, the stars that Mario collects in each level, and many other things are occult symbols and references. In each of the 15 levels, there are 7 stars Mario can collect. 6 regular stars, plus 1 more if Mario collects 100 coins in the level. The number 7 is the sacred number of completion. It took God 6 days to create the universe, and then he rested on the 7th day. And the seed of life contains 7 circles. There are 2 unfinished pyramids in the game. The level Shifting Sandland has a giant pyramid that's capstone will be removed if Mario collects the 4 red coins on the pillars. One of the stars that Mario collects in the same level is called Shining Atop the Pyramid. This is a reference to the all-seeing eye of the Masonic Pyramid. In the courtyard where the level Boo's Haunt can be found is another unfinished pyramid that has a star sitting atop it. This is another reference to the unfinished pyramid. And this pyramid also has an inscription on it that reads either El Israel 2401 or Eternal Star. There are 2 competing theories with that one. I'm not sure what El Israel 2401 would mean, but if it's Eternal Star, that would be a reference to the all-seeing eye that sits atop the pyramid as a representation of God. Someone once reached out and contacted Nintendo about the inscription, and they received a letter that said there was no actual meaning to the inscription, but you can never be too sure when it comes to giving explanations about occult symbolism. Another occult reference in the Shifting Sandland level is the Hamza or Hamza that can be found inside the pyramid after the capstone is removed. The Hamza, Hand of Mary, or Hand of Fatima, is an ancient occult symbol of protection, usually a depiction of the divine feminine that looks like a hand with an eye in the palm, and is often used as an amulet to ward off the evil eye. Speaking of the evil eye, there are numerous floating eyeballs in the game that are references to the evil eye. All of these eyes have blue irises, and in the Eastern Mediterranean, it's believed that blue eyes are especially prone to giving others the evil eye. The checkered floor pattern that covers the entire castle is a reference to the Masonic mosaic pavement found in many Masonic lodges. The checkered floor supposedly dates back to the temples in ancient Egypt and the floor of Solomon's Great Temple, which Masonic lodges are based on. The checkered floor symbolizes duality in all forms and man's baser earthly aspect. The ceiling of the castle lobby depicts the sky. The ceiling of many Masonic lodges also have depictions of the sky on them. These Masonic depictions symbolize both the heavens and the spiritual nature of man. Besides the checkerboard floor and skied ceiling, there are also other references to duality in the game. Wet Dry World and Tiny Huge Island are both levels named after this concept. The game's villain, Bowser, is a fire-breathing mixture of a dragon and a turtle. This is similar to many mythological battles between man and a serpent, such as Apollo and Python, Zeus and Typhon, Thor and Jormungandr, Ra and Apep, St. George and the Dragon, Heracles and Hydra, Anu and Tiamat, and others. Mario has to fight Bowser 3 times in the game. These battles could be seen to symbolize man's battles with the 3 things that will destroy him: wrong thought, wrong feeling, and wrong action. The first 2 times Mario fights Bowser, they duel on an octagon-shaped platform. There is another octagon shown in the game that surrounds an image of the sun and the lobby of the castle. The octagon is a 2-dimensional representation of the hypercube, which is a 4-dimensional cube. The hypercube is a symbol for our realm of existence, the 3 standard dimensions of depth plus time. Dark occultists believe the hypercube is a prison that the ignorant masses of man reside in, which allows the occultists to dominate the masses. The octagon in both the lobby and the battles with Bowser are references to the creator god of the universe, known by many different names, such as Baal, Moloch, Saturn, Cronus, Mammon, El, and others. Mario is a representation of the benevolent god who supplants the overbearing, dictatorial creator god, such as Jupiter, Jesus, and Zeus. The last battle with Bowser takes place on a decagon, a 10-sided shape that Bowser cuts into a 5-pointed star or pentagram. This is a reference to the upside-down or inverted pentagram, whereas the stars that Mario collects throughout the game are references to the upward-pointing pentagram. The pentagram, when pointed up, is a symbol of holiness, which combines the 5 elements, air, water, earth, fire, and spirit, and points up towards the heaven and God. When pointed down in the earthly direction, however, the pentagram becomes a symbol of the Baphomet. This is a symbol of man's darker nature, also represented by the dragon, Bowser. In the first level, accessible in the game, Bob-omb Battlefield, there is a spiral tower that reaches into the sky. This tower looks a lot like the depictions of the Tower of Babel, mentioned in the biblical book of Genesis. The Tower of Babel was built tall enough to reach the heaven, and this greatly displeased God, so he made mankind unable to speak the same language, and drove them to splinter into many different nations. In Super Mario Bros. 3, there is another depiction of the Tower of Babel in World 5, Skyland. In that game, in that level, Mario and Luigi travel up the tower in order to reach the second part of the world, which resides in the clouds, just like how the Tower of Babel reached the heavens. There are 2 levels at the top of the castle, near where Mario battles Bowser for the final time, that prominently feature rainbows. And rainbows are important symbols in many mythologies. In Norse mythology, the Bifrost is a rainbow bridge that connects the earthly realm of Midgard to the home of the gods, Asgard. In the Bible's book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 13, God tells Noah that the rainbow is a sign of God's covenant with man. In Chinese folklore, there is a myth of 2 lovers, Hsinpo, and Ying Tai, that can only be together when there is a rainbow. And these are a few examples of rainbows in mythology. The stars that Mario collects are symbols of enlightenment, which is what man is always trying to achieve. Once Mario is able to collect enough stars, 9, 27, and 70 respectively, he is able to move on and fight against Bowser, and then unlock the next stage of the castle, or after the final battle, beat the game and rescue the princess. These were numerous occult symbols that I noticed in the game of Super Mario 64.
So now hopefully you see why I dedicated one of the initial episodes to Freemasonry, this secret or private organization. They're influencing society more than you think, and believe it or not, there are other examples we'll see later in this video that also promote Freemasonry and Masonic symbols. Alright, let's look at one more game involving Mario. So going back to Mario Party, this is Mario Party 5, and within these Mario Party games, They are what you call mini games, and check out what this game is all about, astrological.
Start!
Astrology, astrological symbols, horoscopes. Moving on. Alright, moving on to Grand Theft Auto. Let's see some things that happened in this game.
This video is to demonstrate the occult symbolism depicted in Grand Theft Auto 5. One of the first images you are confronted with is a giant-sized framed picture of an all-seeing eye. This one is stylized seemingly to disguise what it really is. This image is prominently displayed in one of the main characters' homes. Next on the left is a poster of an all-seeing eye. This is followed by a reptilian eye in a star. Again, this is in a game character's home. This character is known as a genius in the game. He seems to know everything. Then there is the numerous casual remarks of different occult words. New World Order, Illuminati, Darwinian.
Pyramid scheme, bull.
Pyramids is good, man. Illuminati pharaoh.
Ortega lives near here. Let's go see him.
It's one thing messing with tweaked out bikers, but the Aztecas, man.
The Aztecas. Just a name. Is he Illuminati as well? Anunnaki? Not one of the lizard people? Get it done. It would be Darwinian. Hey, look. When's it gonna stop? It happens in the dark. It comes out in the light.
Give it a rest, Trevor.
He did die. You reptilian mother.
I didn't want it to come to that.
And here is the eye of Ra.
Or a Luciferian eye.
Slide me a few dollars or something, you know what I'm talking about? It's hard out here to say.
That's nothing.
I know you don't want all the Illuminati, you know what I'm saying, leave the street in the back. But damn, man, way to keep it down. I mean, thank you, I guess. Hey.
One of the characters even sports a t-shirt with an all-seeing eye. This character is depicted as a UFO nut. Thanks for watching.
Pretty crazy stuff, huh? So they're playing with if the Illuminati is actually a real thing. It's very real. Alright, as we saw in episode 9, there are quite a few games that involve magic and spirits. One of them is Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see what this guy has to say.
The instruction manuals. And I have here one for wizardry. And I don't know if you can see it from here. Maybe we can get another shot of it off camera. You know, the Bible tells us that in the last days that the whole world will worship the dragon. And here we see right on the cover is the dragon. These kids are becoming acclimated to this very kind of thing. And I began to look through the instruction manual, and I see here how to cast magical spells, and mage spells, and cleric spells. And you go to the pages that it's listed on, in this instance page 41, and they have complete descriptions of how to cast spells, and how to contact powerful spirits, and how to use these spirits and these powers to overcome, obviously, evil or good, because there's both white and black magic in these books. We picked up another one to see if that was just coincidence, and it's Dungeon Magic here. And we look through again, and we see in here casting magic spells, page 22, with a complete description. And it says here, each wizard has mastered a certain type of magic. When you meet a wizard, he will give you 4 basic elements of his mystical studies. So we have a wizard now teaching the children of his magical studies. And then here it says, it is important to remember that the source of all magic is the life force of the user. This is the teaching of the occult. This is exactly what we were introduced into in Star Wars and E.T., that there is some magical power, some life force that runs throughout the universe, and it is this power that we can tap into for either good or evil. Of course, in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker would tap into it for good, and Darth Vader would tap into the same power for evil. So there was no God judging the hearts of mankind. There was no moral code to live up to. We just had this power that we could use at our discretion. And here is this teaching right now in these video games. So it is not just some social misfit who is off playing Dungeons and Dragons in the corner somewhere. Now it's the very Nintendo games. I look at another one here just to show you.
Yeah. So what's the goal of these games? To make us, wizards, magicians? Like actually learning how to cast spells, how to call on spirits. For kids? Moving on to another game called Far Cry. All-seeing eye again on their clothes. Maybe red and blue symbolism too, or pink and blue. All-seeing eye. Another quote of the New World Order phrase, slightly adapted. Some more eye symbolism. Alright, so you guys got the idea. Eye symbolism all over that game. Alright, next example is a game called Street Fighter.
Most gamers worth their salt are probably familiar with the classic Street Fighter bosses like Sega, Akuma, and the Sinister and Bison.
Of course!
But when Street Fighter III New Generation burst onto the scene in 1997, it brought with it a wild and wacky new boss whose lore is almost as ridiculous as his banana hammock. Meet Gil, final boss of all three Street Fighter III titles and self-proclaimed Emperor of the Illuminati. Yes, you heard that right. This two-tone tyrant is the head of the Illuminati. Yeah, that Illuminati. Capcom would later change the organization's name to the Secret Society to make it less on the nose, but come on, it's the Illuminati. Gil was originally designed to showcase the power of Capcom's CP System 3 arcade board, specifically the advanced graphical capabilities that the board granted compared to its predecessor. While previous titles would simply mirror sprites depending on what side of the screen they were on, meaning that accessories such as Sagat's eye patch and Vega's claw would swap sides when they turned around, CPS3 allowed for dynamic character animation that gave the game a better sense of depth and smoothness. Thus, Gil's half-red, half-blue complexion, which signifies his dominion over both fire and ice in-game, would remain consistent regardless of his orientation. New Generation reveals that the Illuminati were the ones pulling the strings of M. Bison's vicious Shadowloo cartel all along, making Gil the de facto man behind the man, big bad of the entire Street Fighter series. Yet, despite all of that, old Icy Hot is far from malicious. In fact, Street Fighter's Illuminati is more concerned with saving the world rather than conquering it. Albeit in their own bizarrely esoteric way, Gil is basically their Jesus, the one prophesied to save humankind from an apocalyptic disaster and create a new world order from the ashes. Gil, ever the proactive one, wants to avert the impending doom altogether. His plan, a special project, the G-File, is a series of activities ranging from genetic experimentation to the manipulation of global politics meant to ensure humanity's survival and the completion of the Illuminati's ultimate goal. Aside from his cryokinetic abilities, Gil's also mastered one of the Illuminati's 66 secret arts, resurrection. In game terms, this means you basically gotta beat him down twice. Because if he dies with a super full gauge, he'll bounce back as good as new unless he can land a perfectly timed blow to stuff his rival. For all of this complex lore, however, Gil's in-game ability amounts to little more than petty acts of trolling, like stealing British gentleman Boxer Dudley's car for lulz, or promoting his power-hungry brother Urian to president of the Illuminati, the position directly under him, just to mess with him. His recent return to prominence as Street Fighter V's latest DLC character showcases his more sinister side, though. If his ominous depiction in the promotional material for Street Fighter V Champion Edition is anything to go by, he's poised to finally become the threatening presence he was always intended to be.
My perfection.
Alright, so we saw red-blue symbolism, we saw playing with the Illuminati again, promoting a character as a god, and even some hints at reincarnation again. This stuff is all over, and we're seeing how these various genres of games are promoting these things. Alright, now let's look at Sonic and the company who made Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega.
Someday, Sonic, but I've got terrible news. Look at this. Your family history is being erased. And if you don't do something fast, you'll vanish along with them.
But how could this be happening? Dr. Robotnik!
Your only hope is to go back in time to before he messes with your ancestors and stop him. Ancient Moby Kid. There he is, the Sonic the Hedgehog. The fastest bricklayer in all of Moby Jet. Sonic!
Two chili dogs coming up! Penelope, what are you doing here? Their Robotnik has discovered that the Chaos Emerald of Immortality is in the pyramid of Robotnik.
This is it! The burial chamber of Robotnik the First. Ah, the Chaos Emerald of Immortality. And do you, my Sonic, take this hedgehog to be your bride for as long as you both shall live?
I do.
I now pronounce you hedgehog and wife.
Done!
Wow, that blew my mind. Very evil stuff going on. So you see how much Freemasonry has influenced video games alone? Like not calling him Sonic in that cartoon, calling him Masonic, as in Masonic, as in Mason, Freemason. This is crazy stuff, guys. Wow. Alright, so I hope and pray that gives you a better idea of how evil video games really are. Alright? Whether it's playing as Satan as a character in the game, or Satan being in the game one way or another, satanic symbols, summoning spirits and magic and demons. The list just goes on and on and on. There's some very evil minds behind these video games. So please be careful. Like I said, I've pretty much given up video games after seeing stuff like this. Christians don't need to be playing this stuff. Alright? And we saw the various genres too. It's not just the fighting games, it's sports video games, it's the action video games, it's the arcade video games, everything, all genres. Alright, and even if it's not obvious, like the examples we saw today, still goes back to what we talked about in episode 9. Alright, playing a video game promotes sparrow thumb meditation, transcendentalism, Zen, ideas that are not Christian-like. Okay? So I hope all of that made sense, and I hope all of that encourages you or a relative or a friend to seriously reconsider playing video games. Alright? That wraps it up for this episode. I'll see you guys next time. Be vigilant.